Okay, welcome to yet another fresh episode of Business Roundup. My name is Wadulo Mark Arnold. It's been a week of love and we hope you got to spread some during this Valentine's week. Without further ado, let's get into the program because it's time for business. In our first story, Uganda debt to GDP will peak at 49.5% by the year 2021-2022. If the country does not check its borrowing appetite, cautions the International Monetary Fund. Now, these experts say that this debt will negatively impact our economy, despite it growing at a rate of 6.3%.
Uganda's economy has recovered from the slump of 2016-2017, a remarkable feat by all standards, according to the International Monetary Fund. The visiting IMF mission that has been in Uganda has projected the economy to growth at about 6.3% in the current and the next financial year.
The ingredients of an economy are in place for the economy to take off. The only bottleneck that we still have is the cost of money. Cost of money is still an issue because interest rates are still high relatively, and therefore, particularly for the small business people.
However, even as the economy gets back on track, the IMF is concerned about the high levels of poverty, with the recent statistics by Uganda Bureau of Statistics showing that at least 21% of Uganda's population still lives below $1 a day, an equivalent of about 3,700 Ugandan shillings.
But growth must become more inclusive. Uganda has made good progress on a number of social indicators. That is very, very welcome, including children's ability to read, to do math, and moreover, child mortality, maternal mortality rates have come down. Fewer people die from health problems in Uganda. That's all very good news.
The IMF mission made this observation at the Ministry of Finance in Kampala in a meeting attended by high-ranking government officials, the civil society and the private sector players. The IMF projects Uganda's debt to GDP to peak 49.5% in the fiscal year 2021-2022 and recommends the adoption of a bidding debt ceiling at 50% of GDP in nominal terms.
And as I said, right now we're projecting it to go up to 49.5% of GDP. So there's no wiggle room left. When you're at that point, then you're absolutely right. If there's a new priority, you need to look at all the other spending items that you have that were a priority at the time of formulating the budget and say, well, which of these is less important than this new priority that has come up?
David Matovo for UBC Business.
Retail rental rates have remained stable in the past half year. This is according to Knight Frank Uganda 2018 second half real estate market report. Now, the slowdown in oil and gas activities in the country have been cited as one of those that have also slowed down the real estate growth in the country.
We're looking at about a 12% yield.
Residential property index in the Greater Kampala metropolitan region registered a 7.1% growth in the second quarter of 2018-2019 compared to 1.6% growth in the first quarter. The growth is attributed to the steady demand and requirement for affordable housing, which has grown exponentially in the last 5 years.
Tenants market and quality. Newer stock is putting pressure on prime suburbs with older stock. It's a tenants market right now. Tenants are calling quite hard bargains because they know that there's an oversupply on the market. So they're really driving quite hard bargains at the moment. And as I've said, there's newer stock putting pressure on the older stock in the prime areas.
Despite its growth, the real estate sector in Uganda still grapples with shortage of tenants and speculation.
There's a lot of speculative property development on the back of the oil that has been going on and still goes on and is still not out of the ground, but will come out of the ground. We saw a lot of developers speculatively developing office space, speculatively building residential accommodation. A lot of that accommodation has not been taken up to date. A lot of this office space has not been filled to date, and we have a lot of voids sitting on the market. It's not their fault. Well, it is partly, because before you go out to pour 18 or $20 million into the ground, do your research.
The increasing risk of economic uncertainty and general slowdown in trade and commerce for most businesses has driven corporate tenants to look at ways of optimizing their special requirements as a solution to reducing their occupancy rates.
What you're seeing happening now is a microcosm of what is going to be happening into the future. You are not going to see large-scale developments for large-scale users because you have a bill that has been written around an individual house and the protection of a resident in a house, now trying to govern a relationship between big property developers and the relationship between big space users.
The second half of 2018 saw the consolidation of retail in the Greater Kampala not after the erratic trading performances in the previous year. The delay in the final investment decision in the oil and gas industry has slowed down the growth of the real estate sector in Uganda. This is according to the latest report released by Knight Frank, a property manager in Uganda. Charlotte Amuge, UBC Business.
AIRTEL subscribers around the country can now access the 4G long-term evolution internet services. The full coverage will improve the internet experience, which will in turn boost communication, trade and business, says the managing director of AIRTEL Uganda.
The AIRTEL 4th generation long-term evolution LTE coverage is now available across all sites in Uganda. This follows a complete modernization of the company's network. The network is designed to provide up to 10 times the speed of 3G networks for mobile devices such as smartphones, tablets and wireless hotspots.
Shows the commitment of our shareholders of AIRTEL that we are here to invest. And I think it is to ensure that this is not limited to Kampala. I think we have ensured countrywide coverage of this technology so that everybody across, you've seen the communication there. I think people in Karamoja can now access good internet speeds. I'm sure their lives can be transformed. And that's a huge milestone for all of us in Uganda today.
Subscribers around the country can now enjoy an improved experience in internet-based activities. This encompasses video conferencing, video calling, mobile internet access, and video streaming, among others. With the number of internet users rising exponentially annually, improved services is seen as critical in spurring socio-economic development.
Now, our main responsibility at UCC is to ensure that there is good connectivity, good infrastructure, and good speeds, good standards that are being followed. We have, of course, guidelines when it comes to quality of service.
To attract foreign investment, you must have a sufficient and dependable ICT network. And investors are beginning to use that to see whether they can make money in an economy based on how widespread infrastructure in ICT is.
Currently, Uganda has over 15 million internet users. It literally means over a third of the population, estimated at 40 million people, use the internet services regularly. Government re-echoed its commitment to enhancing internet penetration for improved service delivery in various sectors of the economy.
This system has densified distance between people. Whether somebody is in the village, you are in Kampala, still this system will make it possible for you to know what is happening in the village. And in my village, up to now, even this morning, they have to inform, they tell me good news, bad news.
Government recently passed the broadband policy, which is a major step towards the social and economic development of the country. As per the policy guidelines, the mandate of the telecom companies is to provide high-speed, reliable and universal internet connectivity. AIRTEL Uganda becomes the first telecom provider in Uganda to have a 4G penetration countrywide, an initiative which is critical in Uganda's digitization agenda. Dennis Igoa for UBC Business.
The dairy industry of Uganda contributes about 9% of the country's gross domestic product. However, most dairy farmers are faced with the lack of efficient linkages to finance and data management that would have stimulated the immense potential of the industry. The dairy industry of Uganda contributes about 9% of the country's gross domestic product, but lacks data on performance. Laboremas, an IT solutions company and agribusiness development center, together with Rabobank Foundation, have launched a digital platform, IMATA. This term is linked to electronic milk and enables efficiency in the dairy farming value chain.
And we hope that IMATA is going to contribute to the efficiency of the dairy value chain. And one of the contributions that we hope to achieve is access to finance for the dairy farmers, but also timely payment of the milk deliveries that they are actually taking to their collection centers on daily basis.
In the financial year 2017-2018, Uganda exported over 2.5 billion litres of milk, making it the best performing year of the dairy industry. However, amidst tremendous success is a wanting financial foundation that ensures the industry's growth.
The dairy sector is a very data-rich sector. If we're able, with innovation, as we want to achieve with this new contract, with this new initiative, we're able to provide, especially for the farmers, more transparency. But we're also able to provide better advice from the cooperatives. And with that better advice, be it on farming itself, be it on diseases, be it on feeding the cows, also on getting more loans to get a better business.
The IMATA application is expected to bridge financial gaps in the dairy industry among other technical solutions.
The technology will do a couple of things. It will first of all allow us to use data to see which farmers are the good farmers and which farmers are the less good farmers, so that each farmer gets the credit limit that he or she deserves. But the technology does also more. It actually helps cooperatives run their cooperative in a much better way using data.
Uganda's dairy exports mainly go to the East African community and COMESA countries, among others. This innovation poses a timely solution to the development of the dairy and agriculture sector at large. For UBC Business, Wadulo Mark Arnold and Charlotte Muge. The digitalization of agriculture can help Uganda leap into the much-needed commercialization, says the State Minister for Agriculture, Moses Chibazanga. Let's take a look.
Commercialization of agriculture in Uganda is still a far cry despite the different government and private stakeholder initiatives to upgrade smallholder farmers from subsistence life. However, key stakeholders in the agriculture sector believe that digitalizing the agriculture sector could bridge the gap to commercialization.
Now, the digital revolution has enabled us that even my mother now has a smartphone. And what does that mean? Digitizing smallholder farmers means you are digitizing technology transfer. When you digitize technology transfer, so we will still have small parcels of transformation.
There is information sharing, information dissemination to our farmers.
While officiating at the closure of the first phase of the market-led user-owned ICT for Agriculture Information Services project, codenamed MUIIS, the Minister for State for Agriculture, Moses Kibanzanga, affirmed government commitment to digitalization of agriculture as a remedy to subsistence farming.
Agriculture is private-led. That's what we decided as a country. So that for us as a ministry, we can continue working on the issues of research, the issues of registration, and the issues of regulation. And most importantly, these services I have just seen here, which we are concluding and which we are launching, are reducing our cost of registration, sharing information, the issues of weather, issues of climate change, sharing information, the issues of market, sharing information, the issues.
With seed funding from the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs MFA, the completed phase of MUIIS involved 3 main information products for agriculture, involving sending weather alerts, agronomic tips and financial services for 54 smallholder farmers' institutions. This was aimed at increasing productivity of maize, soybean, beans and simsim.
To look at agriculture as a commercial sector, as a business sector, and to approach the farmer also as an entrepreneur and not so much as a sustainable, as a subsistence farmer trying to make a living every day.
Information that helps them to improve their food production, but also to de-risk the crop cycle by providing insurance to them. And so we heard some farmers testifying that these services really help them and that they would like to see it be continued providing to them.
We know that in our country, over 69% of our people are employed in agriculture, and the agricultural sector contributes over 26% of GDP.
Riding on its success, the stakeholders are in gears to relaunch the second phase of the project, mainly aiming at marketing and commercialization. David Matovo for UBC Business.
Above receiving the necessary education requirements to becoming a practicing engineer, Engineer Michael Odongo, the chairman of the Engineers Registration Board, has emphasized the need to be registered and certified under the body in a bid to clean out fraudsters in the profession. The Engineers Registration Board has released the 2019 list of 846 engineers that are legally allowed to practice in Uganda. Engineer Michael Odongo has also raised the need for more engineers to get qualified and register so as to get rid of fraudsters in the profession.
And we have got feedback from our colleagues in the field that even works that naturally belong to engineers are being given to non-engineers to do. And they cannot do the work of engineers. And they should not even think that they can do the work of engineering until they have gone to the school of engineering and got a degree in engineering.
The registration of an engineer should occur 4 years after graduation from a recognized engineering school and attainment of a corporate membership of the UIPE. The applicant is required to have undergone 2 years of pupillage training and additional 2 years of working under direction of a registered engineer.
You write a technical report which will be assessed by UIPE assessors and the ARB assessors. And if you meet the pass mark, you satisfy the evaluators, that's during the face-to-face interaction with the committee. Then you become admitted as a corporate member of Uganda Institution of Professional Engineers, and thereafter you are eligible now to register with the board.
Through an MOU with the Egyptian Syndicate of Engineers, 20 graduate engineers will be flying to Cairo for a 1-month training as one of the first group of young engineers to benefit from the program.
I know it's going to be a stepping stone for my career because, engineering is about solving problems and it's more of practical. We did the theory at school, but that's not enough. What we studied at school is not what is on ground.
Part of what to achieve it, we need very good engineers in the country, and we can't have good engineers if we're not trained and registered engineers.
The board has also been offered land located in Kampala Industrial and Business Park by Uganda Investment Authority to construct an engineer's tower. The engineering profession in Uganda has for a long time been infiltrated with quacks. However, the main stakeholders are saying that the time is now to clean the profession, starting by certifying and registering those practicing without this legal requirement. For UBC Business, Wadulo Makano. The National Social Security Fund has urged its members to be frugal with their finances. One of the models that the fund encourages is its members to adopt and evaluate their expenses in order to save substantial amounts of money.
The National Social Security Fund Regional Employers Meeting held in Hoima Town was aimed at updating the members about the fund's performance in the 2017-2018 financial year.
We grew the fund to almost 10 trillion shillings.
We also collected over 1 trillion shillings, which was a record. We've never done that on the fund. And we also earned interest and other income of over 1.6 trillion. Again, that was another record. We exceeded the 1 trillion mark in terms of revenues. Our fund grew by almost 1.8 trillion shillings, which is a higher increase than we've experienced in the last 3 or 4 years. NSSF growth target is to hit 20 trillion shillings of assets under management by the year 2025. A growth of 1.4 trillion shillings per annum is the average growth NSSF is striving to achieve in the next 5 to 6 years. So by growing by over 1.8, 1.9 trillion shillings in 1 year, that was a record for us and put us firmly on the target of achieving our 2025 target. The other area that we tried to share with our members is the work that we're working on in improving on the time it takes to pay their benefits. Although our target was for 80 days during the year, a target of 7 days, we achieved an 8-day target, which was slightly below that. NSSF officials believe that annual regional meetings are critical in building rapport with their savers and also bring them up to speed with new developments in the fund, especially in the area of technological advancement.
Also try and diversify and buy shares into companies, right? Especially those that are regulated by the stock market. Okay? That's one way of, again, growing growth. If you go to, again, the Kenyan market, right, you'll notice that a lot of people, they buy shares as soon as they start working. So you start working, you don't buy a car, but you get a mortgage, then you buy shares, and then you continue and you can buy a car once you've got more money than you actually need.
Dennis Ikoa for UBC Business.
In our corporate wrap, stakeholders in the brewery industry are urging government to seek for their input on policy formulation. Now, although some regulations seek to streamline the brewery industry and also generate more revenue, their implementation has often led to losses to the investors and government too.
The alcohol industry contributes 10% of government revenue despite being highly taxed and regulated. The alcoholic beverage sector has grown with some Ugandan brands flourishing at regional and international market.
As we produce more beer to go out into the market, we have more retailers handling our product, we have more stockists handling our product. So across the value chain and supply chain, we're able to generate employment and therefore positive economic activity.
However, government regulations have affected the brewery industry in Uganda, together with the farmers who supply raw materials.
So those rules that we're talking about are not yet in force. However, I think it suffices to mention that we are happy to engage with government when it comes to that, because we believe that a bit of regulation can be a good thing, but it can also be dangerous if it's done without stakeholder engagement.
Currently, UBL has an 8-month stock of raw materials such as sorghum and cassava. This is as a result of increased taxation, which in turn led to hiking of prices of the common man's brands such as Engule and Senator lagers.
We've dropped in the region of about 30% of our volumes, which is quite unfortunate. And as a result, we are not able to meet our commitments to the farmers who had planted this raw material for us.
Despite such challenges, UBL managed to deliver a 12% growth of revenue in the first half of the current fiscal year. Charlotte Amuge, UBC Business.
And now on the international scene, the 4th largest US mobile carrier, Sprint, is suing the 2nd largest carrier, AT&T, for labeling its network 5G when it's actually 4G. The complaint is a step towards the legal standard in the burgeoning 5G space.
U.S. telecom providers are griping over 5G. The 2nd largest U.S. mobile carrier, AT&T, has branded parts of its 4G network as 5GE or 5G Evolution. This drew criticism from competitors that offer the same network technologies. Now Sprint is suing AT&T, arguing that its ad is deceptive. For its part, AT&T argues the lawsuit is Sprint marketing. Besides this, last year, Qualcomm accused Apple of stealing its chip-making secrets and giving them to rival Intel. All these lawsuits have underscored the importance of technology, and 5G is undoubtedly the most important of them. Real 5G networks could enable mobile speeds of around 10 gigabits per second, about 10 times faster than the standard fiber connection. It promises faster speed, reduced latency, and greater bandwidth. It's the race for a key piece of high technology that will well determine the future of global innovation.
In our Sounds of Business, we take you to Queen Elizabeth National Park. Keep tight and stay still as we give you a glimpse of these tree-climbing lions.
Shawe Venantius, Sergeant Ranger Guide, Queen Elizabeth National Park, Station Dishasha. And we are here having a look at a pride of lions. And this is the commonest pride scene, which comprises of 4 adults, 3 females, and 1 sub-adult male, plus 4 cubs. They are here. Now, though the group is missing 1 female, maybe on the ground or up in the tree, somewhere else. And they are up in the trees because, as I said, we call them tree-climbing lions. The reason is that they climb up in the trees, which is not common in other lions. And they are nowhere different, the same species of lions we have on the planet Earth. But these ones, they have that tactic and ability of climbing up in the trees because we feel it's because our soil here is clayish. So after rain, it holds a lot of water, so which forces them to leave that muddy, watery place to make themselves clean and smart, and then they go and rest up in the trees. That's why they commonly up in trees most of the time.
An emotionally diverse week, ranging from Valentine's Day to the deportation of another top MTN Uganda manager. Share with us what you think about this developing story on our social media platforms. My name is Wadulo Mark Arnold, and from the team and I, it's goodbye.